Hello everybody, I just want to do a video and about the football game tonight, the Notre Dame and Penn State game, and I apologize for the loud sound. I don't know if it's coming through the headphones. These headphones have mics in them, so it should make my voice louder, but it also might pick up the sound of the fan. Um, I just forgot the fan was on, and I already started making the video. You know what? I'll turn that down. Hold on. Okay, I turned the fan off, and also I think it's gonna be a chilly night here in Florida. Um, for us, chilly like low 50s, which is for where I live, it's pretty chilly. So I got the space heater on. You might actually hear that as well, but that's a little lower in sound. So anyway, um, I was thinking that either the Notre Dame quarterback or the Penn State quarterback would be a decent pickup at number three. I think there were people thinking at least the Penn State quarterback would be a good pickup at three for the Giants. But after watching the game, I wasn't all that impressed with either quarterback. They started out really slow. I don't know if it's just because both teams have really good defenses, and that just might be what it was. But they, even when they picked it up and it turned into a bit of a shootout, I don't know. I'm just thinking both quarterbacks look like quarterbacks you don't take at three. You take at um like second round or something. So there were some people, some friends, and um, just people that are Giants fans that I follow, and they follow me on Twitter, and they were telling me no, you don't take those guys at three, or at least the Notre Dame quarterback. I don't know about the Penn State quarterback if people were projecting him to go at three or in the second round. But they both definitely looked like just okay quarterbacks, not guys that are going to be franchise quarterbacks. You know, um, I think the first two guys, and Cam Ward and Shador Sanders, definitely I would take at three. And I'm pretty sure after watching his highlights that I would take um, Jackson Dart at three as well. And I think I would take Jalen Milrow at three. I actually watched his bowl game against Michigan, and he looked really good. The one thing Milrow has above anybody else is his ability to run. He almost reminds me of a young Michael Vick. Definitely has the running ability of Lamar Jackson. Probably doesn't have the arm of either, but definitely has the legs of both. And I would definitely take Jackson Dart if he's available, if he's the best available. Um, Definitely I would take Milrow somewhere pretty high up in the draft. You know, pretty like either. I don't think I'd wait on Dart or Milrow if they're available. If either one is available at three. I'm pretty sure the top three are Cam Ward, Shador Sanders, and Dart, Jackson Dart. But my favorite is probably um, Shador Sanders. I just think he has the mental makeup to make it in the big city of New York, whereas Cam Ward has made reference to the fact that he won't even go into the city, which makes me think he can't handle New York, maybe. Um, but I'd still take him if he was available. And if Sanders was taken in the second, one of the picks wasn't a quarterback, and we got one of those guys, that'd be great. And if not, Jackson Dart would be my guy. And I really disagree with anyone that says that you take Jackson Dart in the second round. I don't think he is a second round quarterback. I think he is better than the guy from Notre Dame. I think he is better than the guy from Penn State. And I think he's better than Milroe. But I think both Milroe and him are really good. Somebody told me, I forget who, that Milroe was a developmental quarterback, like he's not ready yet. I think that's not true. I think he definitely is ready. And it's not like you like throw whatever quarterback you get out there to the wolves. We get somebody as a bridge quarterback, which would be like a guy kind of like we did with Kurt Warner when we got when we traded for Eli, and we didn't start the season with Eli. I think you generally want to hold off on your young rookie quarterback until it's time. You know when it's time, when your bridge quarterback just isn't cutting it, and you're not doing good, and you say, okay, it's time for the kid to come in. A lot of people say, oh, look at Daniel Jones as proof that you don't reach for a quarterback, but is it reaching at the third pick? If you're going to pick a guy at the third pick, is that reaching, or is that getting a guy you really want? If the Giants pick a quarterback at 3, whoever it is, it's a guy they really want. It's not reaching. And I honestly think Daniel Jones isn't a bad quarterback. What we saw in 2022, when he looked like the next coming of Lamar Jackson and won a playoff game on the road in Minnesota, I think that was who Daniel Jones really is. The next year, he got an ACL tear, and I've been watching football since late 80s, early 90s, Giants football, and I'm just watching football in general. When guys tear their ACL, a lot of them don't come back. Most of them don't come back. It's like one of those injuries is really tough to come back from. You lose your mobility, usually. You can't run. And I think that's what happened to Daniel Jones. I think he lost his ability to run like he used to. So, like, he had to be a pocket passer mostly. And that's not the type of quarterback he is. He's the type of quarterback where when the pocket collapses, he runs, and he just doesn't run through open space. He runs through people, and I think because of the injury, he was, the beginning part of this year, scared to run through people because he didn't want to get hurt. He was gun shy, if you will. And so I think I think it was a smart pick. I think our GM or GMs, whether it be Gettleman or Shane, didn't put the right people behind him to, one, protect him on the offensive line, and we just didn't put a winning team out there to be a perennial playoff contender. And I think this past year was the first year where you really, really saw good offensive line play for the first time in a long time. Was it perfect? No. But it was better than the year before. And it was maybe on par with what he had in the playoff year, when we had a pretty good offensive line. So I don't think it's fair to say he was a failure. It's like the Giants failed him. When he looked at his best before the surgery, to me, Daniel Jones looked like kind of like, I don't want to say a poor man's, but a poor man's version of Lamar Jackson. And if they would have put a team behind him that protected him and he didn't get rocked every time, like there was a time before the surgery where the offensive line was so bad that he would have not even 2 seconds before the defensive line was all over him and getting, like, manhandling him and sacking him to the ground. And this has basically been the MO of Daniel Jones his whole career. So before the surgery, when this would happen, his only recourse was if I could somehow get away from these guys and run. And that's how he would do it. He would run for a first down or even run for a touchdown if he had to. So I don't think that's like a reason not to take a quarterback that you don't think is the best. Everyone has their opinions, right? Like there's so many people that say this is a bad draft class. But what if the first three guys, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, Jackson Dart, and what if you even throw in Milroe, that your first four quarterbacks turn into great quarterbacks? And as we've seen, guys that come in later rounds sometimes are great. Look at all the great guys that have come in later rounds. You've had the Buffalo guy. He went in later. What did he go in, like the second or third round or something like that? Didn't Brady like go in like the fifth or sixth round? I could go on and on. There's like a whole bunch of great quarterbacks that didn't go in the first round. And then last year, everyone thought that Bo Nix was going to be like a later round quarterback. They didn't think much of him. He goes to Denver and he puts up numbers you hadn't seen since Elway and the 2 years that Peyton took the Broncos to the Super Bowl. So he did great. And I know he was okay, and then there's the factor of what's the most important position. And Chris McMonagle was talking about this on WFAN, I think on Sunday night. And he was like, you don't get any other position, whether it's secondary, defensive line, wide receiver, any position except quarterback. You don't get that position player and expect him to turn your season around and you're gonna make the playoffs because you got a cornerback or because you got a defensive end, you know, unless it's a complementary piece and you already got your quarterback. But if you're like the Giants' number one need right now is a quarterback. So what would be the point in getting that? There's, what is that guy named Hunter, who supposedly like plays cornerback and wide receiver? You get him and maybe some crap ass quarterback in the second round. Is that really going to turn the Giants around to be a playoff team next year? Whereas if you get a guy that you really think is the guy you really think is your franchise quarterback, and you get him at 3, or even draft up to 1 or 2, that's going to turn your season around to the point where maybe you're going to be a playoff team. 2 examples, again, Bo Nix with the Denver Broncos. They're a playoff team this year. The year before, they sucked almost as bad as the Giants. And Daniels with the Washington Commanders, and they sucked almost as bad as we did before they got him, and now they're a playoff team. looking like a really hot team that could surprise people this year and maybe go far in the playoffs. Um, so, and veteran quarterbacks, come on. Is that the answer? Going out and getting like a Darnold or getting a Russell Wilson or the other guy in Pittsburgh, the guy that used to be a Bear, I forget his name. Um, are those guys the answer that are going to turn our franchise around? Maybe for like a year they could turn us into a playoff team, but they're not going to make us a perennial favorite for year in and year out. I want, personally, and maybe I should lower my expectations. And I understand we might not get a quarterback at 3, but I will be a little pissed. Like last year, when we didn't get JJ McCarthy at 6, I was pissed. I mean, I like the idea of when I found out a little bit about him, of what Malik Neighbors could bring to the table. You know, and I was like, okay, so they're comparing him to a young Odell Beckham Jr. and Antonio Brown. Okay, maybe we got a good guy. Okay, so next year we'll get the quarterback, or whatever, or at that point I was thinking Daniel Jones is going to turn it around and finally have a good season. Finally, he has a receiver to throw to, you know, and then we got that tight end from Penn State, you know, but I honestly wanted JJ McCarthy and go back in time to when we drafted Saquon Barkley. I was pissed. I was screaming at the TV. I wanted Sam Darnold. And you could say all you want, Giants fans, that, you know, Darnold was a bust and all this stuff. Okay. Maybe it was the team he was on. Maybe he was just on a bad Jets team. Maybe it wouldn't have been that way with the Giants. Why on the Vikings does he look like a really good quarterback? Maybe not that last game he played in against Detroit, but every other game, the guy looked lights out. And I'm sorry, that is not the road I want to go down. You know what I would be okay with? If we can't get a young quarterback, if it looks like we can't get one of the top quarterbacks for some reason, I'd be fine with taking that 3rd pick, maybe some other picks, set them to the Vikings way, and getting J.J. McCarthy, which is being talked about by the media. It is, some of them are saying that the Vikings would be open for business if they go deep into this playoffs, maybe make it to the Super Bowl or win it. Then maybe we can get J.J. McCarthy. But if they're like one and done in the playoffs, they're probably going to want to keep him. You know? Because that means that maybe Darnold isn't the answer. But if Darnold can prove to them that he's a winner, they could at least make it to the Super Bowl, they might say, hey, we got something here. And it's one thing to do it during the season, but football is all about what have you done for me lately? And if you don't win it all, no one remembers the loser in the Super Bowl. Not literally, some people do, but it's harder to remember the guy that lost, the team that lost, than the team that won. So, yeah, I just think, yeah, these quarterbacks on Notre Dame and Penn State, just okay. I get, maybe it's not fair to judge them on one game. Maybe they're better than what they showed. If I had to pick a favorite, I like the guy in Notre Dame. He looked better. What if he goes on and wins a championship? What if he bests either Texas or Ohio State? What if he looks great? Could that up his draft capital? Pretty sure he's going to the draft. I thought I read that somewhere. The one thing that kind of bugs me, and nothing against like Christians and Catholics and whatnot, But like every other thing out of this guy's mouth is, Jesus Christ propelled me to win this game, or, you know. And I don't know how much I could take if he was a Giant doing that. But on the other hand, the Giants have sucked since Coughlin left. Left, if you know what I mean. He was basically fired. Told, hey, if you don't resign, we're going to fire you. But maybe we need some divine intervention from God and Jesus and all that shit. You know? And I mean that in the nicest of ways. I was born a Roman Catholic into a Roman Catholic family. I'm now a Buddhist. But maybe we need Jesus on our side. Maybe he's the answer just for the divine Catholic intervention. Okay, that's going to be it, guys. I rambled on way too much, but may the force be with you. God bless you. And whatever happens, we'll all be okay. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.